Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to our beginners playlist. We are on not that many. We're on day 2. So we survived day 1 per our first video title. Now we're on to day 2. We're starting back at Mystery Lake's Trapper Cabin. I came prepared this time. So this time we're going to take a look at our maps window here. There we go. Alright, so now we have our map up. Technical difficulties here. So here's what I wanted to load last time and I wasn't able to do it. So we are currently in Mystery Lake. So where we spawned out was, I think we were somewhere around here when we spawned in. We traveled, let's see if I can write on this. Okay, there we go. So I think what we've done so far is we started right around here. And we worked our way down towards Max's Last Stand, up and into Trapper's Cabin. So we left off right here. Now you can see we haven't gone very far on this map. This map's pretty big. So I think our plans today are going to be to work our way either back the way we came or potentially come up to... We'll probably go out this way and try to work our way to Max's Last Stand, and then work our way back out to the railroad tracks. We may come out there, we may come out down here, whichever. I end up one of the two ways. But when we get to the railroad tracks, these are a pretty distinctive set of tracks. So it makes it easy to find your way. When you're in Mystery Lake, if you can find the railroad tracks, you know you're at least in the more built up part of the map. And then I want to get us to this camp office. And then I would like to eventually work our way up the tracks and then get to the dam. Those are my goals for this video. So, without further ado, let's get back to our game here. Alright, so we're back. Alright, now there may be some harsh editing there. There was a couple spots where I was struggling a bit. Still learning how to finesse things with OBS, if you will. But, you know, as we learn, as I teach you, I get to learn myself as well. So, let's see. Alright, so where did we leave off? I want to make sure we didn't leave anything in here. In terms of what we found in here so far, we're not going to take the dusting sulfur because this is just a short survival playlist. And then we were able to make our fire. We're going to take this charcoal because I'm going to show you a nifty trick with it. Always look under containers, so we did find the 2 metal containers here. We looked under here. Sometimes they hide single ammo shells, sometimes they hide some other bits and bobs. So, especially if you're not familiar with the area, always crouch around a little bit, take a look. We did find those couple cans hidden in the back here, so it's always worth looking. And I've noticed with the new recipe system, they have started hiding things in the backs as well. So, definitely good to keep an eye on it. So we're going to hit tab. And it's getting close to being dark. We should have time to make it back. 1 second. Okay. Alright, so it looks like we are ready to go. We've searched through everything we needed to search through, and let's head out. So ideally we'd have a little bit more food in our belly, and okay, so Survival 101 here. This weather looks like it's going to turn into crap. I do want to move as much as I want to move. It's late, or it's getting late, and this looks like it could easily turn into a blizzard. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to make this time a little bit productive. And we're going to hope that this weather does not turn bad. We're going to drop this bad water too, just because I don't want to accidentally drink it. So we're going to hide it there. So this weather to me, weather like this, there's a couple things you need to know about it. First is, I don't know if you can see our temperature, how quickly it's falling. That to me indicates that we're going to be in for a bad night. Not only are we going to be cold very quickly, if you look at what we're wearing, we don't have much for, You know, the air temperature right now is 16 degrees, but with the wind the way it is, we feel like it's 3 degrees right now. And our clothes, we're not wearing all that much. Our temperature bonus is only 7%. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is on our clothing now, we have these little blue lines that are starting. This means our clothing is getting wet. So the higher this blue content, it's going to correspond with the percent wet that now you're seeing. So if you look under where it says new jeans, it says now 7% wet. Wet clothing, when you stay cold, freezes. Frozen clothing gives you frostbite. Frostbite, I don't know if you guys watched my fishing video. If you haven't, you can see what frostbite looks like in my fishing video and my tip-up video. You can see it there. I think I make a comment about it in my tip-up video. But I have 4 times frostbite on that playlist, and that actually effectively ended my playlist because I went to sleep with wet frozen gloves. And that effectively made it so I couldn't continue that play, which really stunk because it was a mistake that I made, but little things do really add up in this game. I'm going to see if the game will allow us to map in this weather. I'm just a little bit leery about leaving in this weather. I'd rather stay the extra night here. But we're going to learn how to map. So what we just did, we just made in our little map here. I prefer to use the maps that I just showed you. But you can see that we are at Trapper's Cabin, and it'll point out some interesting things for you. So it's going to show me that there's some green birch saplings here, and that there's some cedar limbs that I could go cut down. The way that you do that is by opening up your adventure wheel, going down to navigation, and selecting charcoal. If you have spray paint in your inventory, you can actually spray paint items as well. I tend not to use the spray paint system. You can. Basically, you would have a can of spray paint in your inventory, and then you would go to clothing, or whatever you want to do. Confirm. Now, I don't have any spray paint in my inventory, but then from here it would spray paint it, and then it would add it to the map. Maybe next time I find some spray paint, we'll do that. But it gives you the option whether or not you have spray paint or not, which I think is silly. Since we are going to be here for another night, let's see if we can find some bunnies. This way we're reducing our amount of time out in the cold. You can see we're already pretty cold. And then we'll have some food. So up here on this hill behind Trapper's Cabin, there typically are a few rabbits that spawn. So we don't have any rocks in our inventory. Let's find some. That hypothermia risks means that we're cold. So if you could look at our temperature moodlets down the bottom, we are now really cold. So that red means that we're as low as it can go. Which is okay for short periods of time. Don't panic when you see that. But the longer you stay outside, if you get hypothermia, it doesn't have total condition loss, kind of like what you'll see with frostbite. Frostbite damage is permanent, so you'll have a permanent loss to your health until that character dies. So forever, basically. There's no rocks here. Okay. Yeah, see, this to me looks like it's about to go real bad, not in our favor. And I'm not seeing any rocks around. So in order to kill rabbits, you need rocks or a weapon. I'm not seeing any rocks here without going too far. So we're just going to switch gears and go to picking up firewood for tonight, because we're going to be needing a fire soon. Decisions like this, as sporadic as they seem while we're playing, are kind of the difference between surviving and not in this type of game. So if we came over this hill and I could find a couple rocks easily, we'll go ahead and nab them. But I don't want to move too far away from shelter because the weather looks like it's about to turn really bad. There was a wolf down there that just got spooked on something. I don't know what it was. But to me, that means we stay here for tonight. We have shelter here. We'll get hungry, and that's going to have to be okay for right now. We won't restore any condition loss when we're hungry, but it's okay. Worst case, we'll take a shot and eat the bad food in our inventory if we have any left. Can take, actually there's a cave right there. Let's see if we can grab a couple rocks out of the cave. Now see this storm here is going to turn into a blizzard. I would bet money that this would at some point turn into a blizzard. And even if not, this storm is kind of oppressive enough that just in the time we've been walking around, we went from 9% wet to 24% wet. So it's not great long term to be out walking through weather like this. Not only are we potentially going hypothermic, since our temperature still isn't rising, and our temperature probably won't rise until we get inside, and even inside sometimes not enough is to warm up. Sometimes you'll need to start a fire, something else to be able to kind of boost that up, make your, the bar actually go up a bit higher. So we're going to duck our head. There's a cave back here that I know of that spawns behind Trapper's cabin. Sometimes there's some rocks in there. So we're just going to peek our head in and see if we can't find a couple rocks. If we can, we'll have dinner for tonight, which would be ideal. I usually try to make a habit of carrying a couple stones with me, if for no other reason but for protection against wolves. So we're going to enter this cave. This cave actually should be a little bit warmer for us. So we may have our temperature come up. But you can already see it's not really coming up at this point. We don't really have clothing. And the clothing would be the thing that would probably make this hospitable for us. But even here, not finding any stones. I don't want to light a flare. So sometimes in these caves you can either find charcoal. So there's a flare. Found some cedar wood. Usually there's some stones laying around. Sometimes they have charcoal in them. Charcoal's good because you can't use it as an initial fire source. You need to get your fire hotter. So here's some coal. Sorry, not charcoal, coal. You need to get it a little bit hotter before the coal will take a light. But coal's really warm. Found some food in the cave. That's nice. Some coal. More coal. Not what we came here for. But not bad either. Any other time I'm looking for coal and can only find stones, now that I'm trying to find a stone, I'm not going to be able to find a stone. It's typically bodies and stuff in these caves at times too, so it's definitely worth exploring them all the way through. Because you'll find food like we just found. Sometimes you'll find some tools from misadventure from other explorers. Didn't quite make it. So we're not going to exit this cave because we don't want to go to Mountain Town, but we did find enough dinner probably for tonight, so we may just call this a win. I don't think I've ever been this far into a cave and not found a single stone. That's so abnormal. What we did, however, just find that I'm really excited about is a rabbit carcass. So we can actually take this rabbit carcass and harvest the meat that's on it for free food for tonight. So even though we didn't find a rock, we found food, we found some coal. Let's go ahead and go back to our house, and we'll sleep in for the night here. I'm gonna run since we can waste the stamina. We're gonna go to sleep very soon, but generally it's not a good idea to run too much. It's gonna be a do as I say and not as I do, because I tend to run when I get impatient. I run a lot more when I'm recording than when I'm not, but that's just me. I'm somewhat impatient. I will say stones, they tend to spawn more along riverbeds and paths and things like that. It's easier to find them. I usually grab a few when I can find them, because situations like this where when I need a stone I can't find one, they crop up more than I would like to admit. It feels like some places there's so many stones that I ignore them. In other places you're desperately trying to find a single stone and you can't. So in that little time that we were inside, the storm's actually gone, which is not how I would have predicted that going. I really would have thought that would have turned into a blizzard. And in some situations, we would have been fine to move. But just being that we've already lost a little bit of condition, we're hungry, we're cold, it actually kind of made more sense to stay for the night. It made sense to try to find a food source and get warm versus trying to travel in that. Because what potentially could have gone wrong is, there's a stone right here. So here's our stones. What could have potentially gone wrong is actually a few things. The biggest thing I worry about is we're really tired. So if we would have gotten into a wolf struggle, not having any weapons or anything to protect us, there's a good chance we would have lost that wolf struggle and lost a lot of health. Um, Anytime you can avoid a wolf struggle is best, but when you're tired, it's really good to try to just do whatever you can not to get into struggle with wolves. Your condition is directly relative to how those wolf encounters do end up turning out. So if you're tired, if you're too over-encumbered, I've noticed, not always with the over-encumbrance, I would say, but more times than not, it's just not a good situation to put yourself in. So we're going to go in, and I should do that slower for you. So we go over to weapons now. Now that we have stones in our inventory, we'll go down to stones, and we'll pull one up. Easiest way to catch rabbits is going to be to crouch. Your aggro range is a lot smaller when you crouch. So what we're going to do is we're going to aim. We're cold, so we're going to shake. We want that rabbit above our thumb. We missed because he was too close, but ideally you want that rabbit above your thumb, and you're going to adjust up and down for distance. It's going to be hard because we're cold, so we're going to keep shaking like that. We'll try again. If we don't get it this time, we'll call it because I'm cold and I'm losing condition pretty quick. So we can see this rabbit's going to walk towards us. I like to try to line myself up with the way they're walking, if possible. So we're going to throw, and that rabbit is stunned, so we're going to walk over to it, pick it up, and then you'll have an option to kill it, and you'll have an option to release it. Sorry, bud, you're our dinner. So now, I don't know if you see that now, because we are carrying not one but two rabbit carcasses, we stink now. So if there's any predators in the area, we are potentially going to attract them. So if you're going to hunt more than a few rabbits, my general recommendation is going to be to drop them as you pick them up. So each rabbit gave me a smell bar. So if we go into our inventory, go down to food, we have these rabbits now. Say we drop all of them. And we hit tab, we don't smell at all now. So if you hit tab, it's going to show you all of your important things, including what time of day it is, and if you smell. So now that we're going to take this one rabbit, now we have that extra smell bar. And smell bar is what's going to attract predators to us. And if we hit tab again, now we're going to show we have one smell bar. We don't really ever want to travel with any smell bars, because we don't want to attract any wildlife to us, especially if we have meat in our pocket. And especially because we are tired, we are cold, and we are hungry. All of those things just lead to badness. Once we're in a better situation, and maybe I have a weapon in my pocket, I'll show you what you should see from the wildlife when you do things like that. So now that we're here, we've secured some food. I will say, that to me was really easy in terms of killing two rabbits. You're going to run around in circles a lot. You can use the snare system, so if you find some animal carcasses anywhere, you can actually go to the workbenches, and you can make a snare. Here, you would need reclaimed wood, which you can get by breaking up any furniture that you find, and some cured gut. So if you find a carcass on the ground anywhere, say this was not a rabbit that we just killed, you're going to go in and harvest it. So if it's a deer on the ground, it'll take you right into this harvest menu. You would harvest the guts off of it, and the meat, whatever you want from it. We'll harvest everything. Because we're warm in here. Now that we're inside, you can actually see, this is where decision making comes into place. Time is really one of those things where you want to make sure you're not wasting time on things that don't matter. So for us right now, we are thirsty, which we can fix, or hungry, which we could actually fix by eating a can of dog food. I'm going to wait on the dog food because it would be out of convenience for right now. We have this these rabbits we can carve up. So I'm actually going to start a fire. We'll start a fire. And as we were walking around looking for stones, we picked up... I spilled my coffee. Darn it. This is why we don't drink coffee and stream at the same time. Record videos at the same time, I should say. Because my coffee cup stuck to my coaster, and then the coaster fell and spilled my coffee. Good times. Anywho. Cool. So, we picked up stones or sticks along the way, so we can make a nice long fire. 26 sticks. We're going to use our sticks for right now, instead of using the other wood, because sticks are all over the place. And just like that, we went through like 20 or some odd sticks, but now we have a 2-hour fire. So we can get warm while we're sitting here. The other thing we're going to do is I like to do as much at the same time as I can. So even though we don't technically need water, we're going to throw water on the stove while we take the meat off of this rabbit. So with the meat by hand, it's going to take us 26 minutes. If we had a knife, it would be a lot shorter. So we'll take the meat off for now, because I do want to eat the meat. So now, for PC, the drop decoy button is 3. I don't know if there's a drop decoy button easily on the consoles. If you look at your, let me see, while that's cooking. Let me see, I have a little thing saved here. So drop decoy on Xbox is going to be down on the directional pad. If that helps at all. Drop decoy is basically going to drop anything smelly that's in your pocket. So food, guts, anything that might attract predators. The one thing it will not drop, and I want you to be extra careful that you pay attention to, is it will not drop uncured pelts, even though uncured pelts do smell. So uncured pelts will actually attract predators. You may not see a smell bar, but you are actually attracting predators. So this is a nice phenomenon to see on this video. I think it's done now. But there is actually an aurora. I thought I saw an aurora. Let me see outside. Let me pop my head outside. Is this an aurora night? Oh, it's not even dark out yet. I thought I saw some aurora flashes. But it might just be off the lighting off of this fire. So now our rabbit's cooked. We're going to take it off the fire. And that little icon that appeared in the right middle of the screen is actually cooking experience that we just got. So in order to level up your cooking, you just need to cook things. It doesn't have to be a lot of things. It doesn't, like, it's going to be a lot of items, but it doesn't have to be for a lot of time, I should say. So you don't have to have a bunch of really big pieces of meat, but each piece of meat that you cook is going to work towards your cooking skill. So anything you're able to cook without burning will go towards your total cooking. You can eat things directly off the stove and still get cooking experience. That does not matter. Let's cook the little steak first. One thing that I am terrible at is checking the timer on my fire. So I happened to take a look down. We are down to less than 15 minutes. There's a lot of videos where you'll see my fires go out and me go, crap, that was stupid, and then have to restart a whole fire. Try not to do that if you can at waste matches. The better you can manage your fire, it'll serve you best in the long run. So always keep an eye, especially if you knew you didn't set a fire for many, many hours and you've done a few activities. It might be a good idea to check in on your fire time. So now that we have, we've got this rabbit cooking, we've got water going. Let's pull the guts out of this one. It's a 40-minute task, so we'll do one. And there is a grace period after your food is done cooking. So even though our food is done cooking here, see how it says underneath? It says cooked, and it says 21 minutes until burnt. This means that this can theoretically stay on the grill for 21 minutes without affecting it. We're just going to pick it up anyway. And there's a similar thing for the water, so it's 21 minutes until it's boiled dry. So we'll take it. We have our fresh guts here. We're not going to get greedy. We are going to go to sleep. I don't want to waste another 40 minutes. We're not going to take these guts with us anyway at this point. This was just kind of a demo for you. We'll eat the meat, though, just so that we get it in our bellies. It's good to have more calories than you need. But we really need to go to sleep. So at this point, um, we need, if we look at our condition bar down the bottom, we're kind of not in great shape, I would say. This is pretty typical for the first few days, though, so I wouldn't panic. Late game, this would kind of annoy me because I've lost a bunch of condition. There's a couple things you could do about this. So the first is just getting a good night's rest. The more hours of sleep that you can get consecutively, you'll heal. I think it's anything over like 4 hours. The rate of condition heal goes up exponentially. Um, I could look at it. I'll look at it another time and give you exact numbers, probably for the next video. But the best thing you can do is get as much consecutive hours of sleep as you can. The best way to be able to do that safely is in a house or something. Ideally, what you're going to look at is it feels like 87 in the room right now because of the fire. Once that fire goes out, this is going to go down, but this bed does give us 9 warmth. I did show you guys before, you can do the past time trick that we did in the first video to see what an hour actually does to your temperature. It's pretty warm in here, and I know this cabin's pretty safe, so I'm going to go ahead and shoot for 8 hours of rest. There's no reason not to. We have 1,400 calories stored, and it'll only burn 480 calories. 8 hours is about what you can get on a full belly of water as well. So that should be enough time that we can sleep through the night, wake up, and now our condition bar is full again. So 8 hours we went from half condition to full condition. It doesn't take much. The other thing you can do is there are certain items in the game. So I don't know if you saw me pick up this birch bark. You can actually take a couple pieces of birch bark. If you go into your crafting menu, go to the first aid tab, and you can prepare this into birch bark. If you make that on the stove in a can or in a pot, you can actually make birch bark tea. Birch bark tea has a restorative property to it, so it actually increases the amount of condition that you gain. There are foods now that will add to your max condition as well. That's a little out of the spec of this video right now, so we'll come back to that when we explore cooking down the line. But if you don't need the condition and you're not sure if the bed is safe, it's actually better to sleep in, I would say, like chunks of time. For us, we know that this is a safe place. We're not going to get jumped by any predators. It's warm enough for us to sleep through the night. Especially early game, though, you may have to be very careful where you sleep at night. If you wake up and you're freezing and your condition bar is dropped, you're going to want to not sleep there again without either making a fire or adjusting your conditions in some way, shape, or form. So sleeping outside, typically not a good idea. There's a much better chance that you're going to get jumped by something outside if you're out in the open. So if you have to do it, do it as safely as you can, but ideally inside is the way to sleep. So right now that it's daytime, we are ready to head out of here. We're going to go the way that I said before. We did find this book. I'll explain these books later at a better time. But not, I want to get out of here. I want to show us more active things. It's a bit foggy this morning, but I think we're still going to move through it. It's not so foggy that I can't see. So there's 2 ways to leave out of here. If we leave out down this way, we're going to go down towards Max's last stand like I showed you on the map. If we go back out that way, so past that rundown shed, that's going to be closer to the way we came in. I want to see if there's anything at Max's last stand, so we're going to go this way and see what we can find. So we're going to erase everything. Cool, I can do that. Thanks for bearing with me while we figure this out. So right now, we're right here. No? Can I draw on it? You're gonna be silly now? Oh, now we can. Okay. Okay, so we can, apparently I can put dots on it, but not draw on it. So we are right here now. Ideally what we're going to do, oh, now it's working. Okay. We want to, if we leave out the way we're going, we're going to head up to Or no, we went to Max's last stand. I'm all out of sorts. So we went to Max's last stand. We want to come up this way, and there's a hunting blind up here. So ideally, we want to go to the hunting blind here. This hunting blind right there. This is being weird. And then we would come across this way to the railroad tracks. So we're going to head north. I'll show you the stick trick again just to remind you, but we're going to go north and out to the railroad tracks. I know this seems silly, but knowing where you're going is actually very important to keep you from running in circles. So there's a compass built into the game, kind of. It works on most maps. So when we drop a stick, the side of the stick that points, the single side, is always going to point north. Not always. On this map, it's always going to point north. And the double-sided stick is always going to point south. When you look at a map, each map is going to have a key. North, south, east, west. So here, this one actually tells you where stick north is. So stick north on some maps, while it's north here, may be west. So keep that in mind. A lot of the people that make these maps make stick north, they put the map so stick north makes the most sense. But world north, so if you were any savvy with the way the sun comes up and down, would actually be this way. So they aligned the map and the compass to match stick north versus world north. So the sun's actually going to rise on this map to the north instead of the east, or whatever. So we're going to go north. So we're going to head over this hill. And going north for us should lead us, per the map, to that blind. There's going to be some hills here, and that's okay. We are probably going to have to, it's cold out, God. So we are going to have to run. So as much as we're not on, hold please. There we go. Sorry about that. We are not, we're going to head north now. We're probably going to come across a couple wolves here. We're cold, but we have to move. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We have to move. We have this puppy dog here. I don't have any rocks in my pocket. So we're going to light this torch because there's going to be more. This puppy dog should only get, should not get too close with us with this torch in our hand. We already checked that body, but wolves are afraid of fire. So fire, flares, things like that, they're going to keep them at a distance a reasonable amount of time. So this won't work every time, but most times if you pull out a flare, if I had a stone in my pocket, I'd show you a trick to scare them off, but I don't, unfortunately. So this is one of those times, though, that even though we are cold, this kind of cold is only going to get fixed by us finding more clothes. So until we find the clothes that we need to get warm, this is going to be our life. So early game, it's important to keep moving. As much as it feels uncomfortable not to move, or to move, we need to keep moving. If you have a rabbit trailing you, or a wolf trailing you like we do, and you can find a pack of rabbits or deer or something, sometimes you can get them to transfer aggro from you to that creature. We do have a bear here with us on this ice. I don't know if you can see it right in front of me, in the middle of the screen. We're going to be quick. We do want to look at this hunting. Because we're here, this wolf may run away. I might have just shown us our first wolf encounter, but we didn't really have a choice. I'm going to try to pick up some stones here. But I wonder if we can wait him out. Will he get bored? Yeah, okay. So, remember that thing we talked about yesterday about drying our clothing out? We're going to run away from the bear, not towards it. We have frostbite risk now because our clothes are wet. So we're going to fix that. soon. Frostbite risk could also be because we're not wearing a lot of clothing. So we really do need to move on to the next area. So we sorted that. We're going to run back over this hill here. And try to find some shelter to get warm because we're cold. Frostbite risk can come from just having parts of you that are uncovered. So if we look at our clothing right now, I'm pretty sure I don't remember us wearing gloves. Our character, you can see he's not wearing gloves, but our character is never wearing gloves. So even if you have a pair of gloves on, visually you'll never be wearing gloves, just as a side note. Don't ever get stressed out about that. It's just something the developers never put in the game. I think they would have to go ahead and change a bunch of animation and stuff to do that. So this red indicator in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen means we're on a slope. That does mean that we are at risk of twisting our ankle. I'm not really sure how we didn't just now, but we probably will at the bottom. Twisting your ankle, not a big deal. It's not something that I would avoid going up and down these hills. But when you're heavier, it increases the risk that you'll sprain your ankle. That's probably why we haven't yet. Gotten kind of lucky there. But that's okay. These trees that you're seeing in front of me, the scary looking trees, there's a wolf right there. There's 2 wolves there. We're gonna run. These are oak trees. These have acorns underneath of them. I don't know what spooked that wolf, but something just spooked that wolf. We have one that spooked. One that didn't. You can search for acorns under them. We're not going to do it right now because we're cold, but any of these spooky trees, you can pull acorns out from underneath of them. Acorns you can actually process into food. You can also grind them up for food items. So you can either boil them and eat them. There's a coffee you can make that's low caffeine as well. The other thing you can do with these wolves is kind of what we're doing right now. I call this the walk and talk method. Because most times I am saying something to myself about the wolf behind me as I'm doing this. I call it the walk and talk method because you are literally just going to keep moving forward ahead of the wolf and turn around and look at it every once in a while just to see where it is. As long as that wolf doesn't get within charging distance, it shouldn't charge. So as long as you keep moving and don't panic when you have a wolf chasing you, you don't have to go into immediate shutdown panic mode. They'll trail you for a long time, an annoyingly long time. But as long as you have a plan, you can loop them around, keep them from that aggro range, you should be okay. If they get too close though and you're getting uncomfortable, definitely pop that flare. I'm trying to see if we can get up into this tower. I think I went the wrong way. Yeah, I think I did. So instead of doubling back and trying to go the way we just came, I'm just going to go around again. You can hear that wolf is still behind me, and that's okay. He can follow me all he wants. As long as he doesn't charge me, I don't really care. And I'll be honest with you, that level of comfort does come with playing for long periods of time. Because I used to freak out anytime there was a wolf walking behind me. But I don't hear that wolf anymore, so he might have actually gotten distracted by something else. So I don't hear the audio cue anymore that he's still following. That doesn't mean he's not still following, so I would not say, okay, go back to acting normal. But I don't hear him at this moment, so we're going to go up into this lookout shed and try to get warm. Hoping there's some clothing up here. These red lookout towers, I'll show you where they are on the map later. There's, I think, 2 of them. There's 2 here that, I think there's one that's together and one that's fallen over. It's been a while since I've actually looted these. I don't typically make the trip up here. This is the broken one. Okay. So this is the broken one. There's actually some ptarmigan there, so we could steal a meal if we wanted to. We might do it. And there's a deer here. Since there's a deer here, I might not kill the ptarmigan. We don't really need it. I guess we could use it for the ptarmigan down, but right now we have other priorities, so I'm going to leave the birds alone. I don't know if you saw them in the corner over there. We're going to pick up these rose hips, though, because they can be used for tea in a pinch. So those white birds there, they're called ptarmigan. They are They're a new bird. They're a source of food. If you get too close, they'll run away. Um, but there they go. So we found a couple things in here. Not what I was hoping for, but we found a message with a memento hit. So this is telling us that there's some ammo in T stash in the cave in the upper ridge. So many rounds left, holding out on us. So we'll take this, and it's going to show us a cave. I think I know where this is. I think this is over in the corner. So we'll go up there, and we'll find the cache in the cave. And there's a key here, which means there's probably a lockbox up there. So we want to make sure that if you find a memento, make sure there's not a key underneath of it. These are new, and I'll explain what these are later down the line. So we found another book. So this book is going to improve our gunsmithing skill by 10 points. We're not going to read it right now. It's not a good condition to read. And we're going to search this first aid kit. Because we're at frostbite wrist and because we are cold, I am going to stop and make a fire quick. I'm going to make it by this deer over here, because we are going to carve a steak off of the deer and eat it since we're here. Crows there are going to indicate that there's a body. That's how I knew there was a body of some sort up here before we got up here. So we found a rope, found some wood, tinder plug. Those are all nice things to have. Across the way here, you can see that tower. That's the other watchtower I was talking about. So that one's when you can go inside, and there's some loot inside. There's a bed in there as well. This deer carcass is frozen, so we actually can't carve a steak off of it barehanded. This is a situation I'm going to use my accelerant. I'm very cold, so I do need that fire pretty quickly. And we will have our best chance of success with a stick, so we're going to use a stick as our fuel source. Because it's cold, I am going to use one of my charcoal as a coal, because it's going to make this fire very warm very quickly. And we have a bit of other firewood, so we'll put this log on here too, just to give us some time. We're going to get nice and close, see if we can warm up. The other thing we can do, and it's the other reason I picked up these rose hips, is if we take, and I'll do this in situations where I'm cold like this. Oh, we don't have enough rose hips to make tea. Okay, no worries. What we could do in this situation is if we either had anything that we can boil that can be warmed. So we can't warm this dog food up or this condensed milk, but if we had a canned item that we could place, so if you click on the cooking slot and hit place, those items would come up here so that you can warm them on the fire. Anything that you cook that's warm, anything that you eat that's warm, will actually give you warmth to it. For some reason, drinking warm water does not work, so we are getting a bit warmer sitting here, which is good. I wish we had some cloth. The reason that we have frostbite risk here is because, see how it says cover up the unafflicted or the afflicted areas or find somewhere warm. So we're at pretty high risk of frostbite, so we really need to hang out here at this fire. Our problem is we don't have a hat on, we don't have anything on our hands. So I'm gonna sit here for a second. Let's see that our risk is going, looks like the risk is going down potentially. I can't tell. We don't want to sit here too long, but let's make a batch of water and hopefully so that should be enough time that we can carve these two steaks off of here by hand. We'll cook them and then we'll go. So there's our deer steak. Even though the percentage isn't high, so it's only 57% condition, we're going to cook it and the condition's going to go up. So I'm not too worried about that. We could take the hide and the guts off of this, but because we're traveling, I don't want to risk having a smell bar, so we're not going to. And I like to passively cook water while I cook my meat, just seems like it wastes less time. Our frostbite risk is now down because we are warm, so this is actually helping our frostbite risk. Even though it looks like the bar there is cycling up, it is coming down, and so is our hypothermia risk. This was a good detour for us. It was a good, if you want to call it a waste of time, that's fine. But it was a good detour for us. Even though we don't need that time, I put it on there intentionally, and I'll explain it to you guys in a minute. So now we've healed our hypothermia risk and our frostbite risk, so we've kept those things at bay for a little bit. If you scroll back a few minutes, you could see that we were like 60 or 70% of the way to having hypothermia, which is bad. That would affect our condition for the rest of this run. Period. End of story. So if you can't find food or you can't find warmth, you need to just plop a fire down. Sometimes you just need to plop a fire down. This worked out for us for a couple reasons. I might not have done it if this deer carcass wasn't here, but we needed to warm up. Otherwise, we would have tried to run over to the next thing. Now, if you notice, we have an hour and a half left on this campfire. We could do one of two things. We could just leave it, or we can open it, and there's an option to take a torch. We're going to take this torch, and we're going to extinguish it, because this one is not the one I want to carry. Take another one. You get these torches, they're partial torches. You can get them as high as 50%, like this one. This one's a good one. We're going to keep it. But every stick you pull, every torch you pull off this fire, pulls 10 minutes off the fire time-wise. The nice thing is, we converted that wood that we had into these torches, and now we can carry to our next destination. This one's not bad to travel with. It's about, let me try to get it up there so you can see the bar. It's about a third of the way, quarter of the way. So from here, that climbing rope that we got, we can deploy it on this rock. These rocks, they all look almost identical. So there's usually a pointy rock and two small rocks next to each other. Looks a little bit inappropriate. So we could climb down this rope. We will, just for the sake. You can climb somehow with a torch in your hand and pull it out at the bottom. I don't know where Mackenzie or Astrid sticks it, but they stick it somewhere. It stays lit, so. Climbing ropes, they're more convenient typically. However, I don't know if you watched our rest bar as we came down that. Our rest bar dropped significantly because we came down a rope. So, now that there's not a wolf chasing us, here's a scary tree. Scary tree has these piles underneath where you can search for acorns. Not all of them are searchable. Some of them like this, like some critter, looks like it got into it potentially. But we can search for acorns. Now we have a bundle of acorns. So acorns are nuts from an oak tree. You can prepare them before cooking, and then you can cook them. So each one typically has 3 spawns, 4 acorns. There's a wolf there. This torch is about to go out, so we're going to throw this torch. We're going to go into our inventory, and we're going to pick up another one. Now, this torch on the ground is still lit, so if we click on it, on PC, it is your right click. I'm not sure what it is on Xbox. I'm sure it'll prompt you. We can light that torch off the lit torch, so effectively, we haven't used a match. So, now, we can search through these acorns again. I know that wolf is there, I see him. We don't stink though, so we shouldn't draw aggro. So unless he sees us, we're okay. If he sees us, we'll be in a different wheelhouse, but we don't have any tools, but this is burdock root. You need tools to harvest up burdock root. Here's the trick I'm going to show you. So if you go into your wheel, go into your weapons wheel, pick up a stone. You can actually stand, it's going to drop your torch at your feet. I'm going to cock this rock back like you would to throw it at a rabbit. He's going to charge. Once he gets close enough, he's going to see the fire, and that's actually going to scare him off. So he'll go into flee mode there, which is good for us. If you have meat in your hands, he may immediately turn around and charge you again, but that's gone. Burdock root is actually harvestable with a knife, hatchet, or pry bar, and it's a food source. It's also an antibiotic source. So we're getting cold again, so I can't play around with it for too long, but if you see roots like that and you have a tool, you should harvest it. Otherwise, if you use a map, If you map this area, it should come up on your mapped tools that it's here. Our goal right now is to get up into this next climbing tower that we saw across the way. But actually, I see these railroad tracks here, and I think the other climbing tower is right up here. It's right there. Okay, so we'll go up here. They're like little ski lodges. I think they're cool. It is a little bit steep to get up here. Generally, I walk around the base of it until I find what looks like a walkway. That's not what I meant to do. And I'm going to hope we're going to find something up here that's worth our time. Buildings are good places to find tools and clothing. So if you can find man-made structures, that's the way to go. The indicator for these is typically a fence of some sort. So right here's our fence. If I walk up and around here, this should be an easy walk up. Okay. So my torch is about to go out here. We'll get another one. Just because I don't know if we're going to stop here or not. I'd rather not waste the match if I can help it. So, there we go. The other thing, so with torches in your inventory, you can make torches out of lantern fuel sticks and cloth. Seems kind of like a waste when you can get free torches from your fire. But if you have multiple torches in your inventory, there's some timing it again. Bye. Did you hear that sound? So you can actually hear them. They make like a purring sound. But they're a food source as well. That's what I was trying to get at. You can throw a rock at them. They spook a little bit faster than rabbits do, and if you do spook them, you don't get a second chance with them because they fly off, but they'll land somewhere else. That's okay. So here, usually check around the base of these. Sometimes there's some bits, you know, stored at the bottom here. That sprain risk that just popped up, if you look at our awareness bar, so the tiredness bar, it's red. As you get tired, you can't carry as much weight. So our weight bar, because we are probably carrying a bit of weight now from the rocks and stuff that we picked up. Okay, just making sure there's nothing out here. Now that we're tired, it's probably making it so that... Oh, this was a good stop. Okay. Alright, we're going to start a fire because we're probably cold. So, and then we'll explore while we're warming up. So, you can use the lit torch in your hand to start a fire. So we'll use that as tinder, and we'll use a stick. It'll give us a 60% chance. The nice thing about doing it this way, though, is it'll only ever use the torch. And if you fail, the torch won't go out. So you'll always have access to the torch again. I think that's a hatchet next to the stove, too, which is exciting. So this is actually a really good drop for these. For this house, I would say this is better than normal, typically. So let's add some fuel to this. A couple logs going. There's some coal on here. So here's a hatchet. We found one. So we'll go down and get that burdock, potentially if I remember to go back to it. Hatchets are great. This increases our survivability, I would say exponentially. The more tools you find, the better position you're going to be in. Hatchets, they're a tool you can use to collect meat off of frozen carcasses, so it's going to take us less time to get those meat items that we have been trying to get. It's going to allow us to cut up branches and stuff, so bigger wood, instead of using sticks all the time. The other really nice thing about this is if you get in a wolf struggle with a hatchet, you're going to end it a lot quicker than you would if you were in a wolf struggle by hand. And if you get into a wolf struggle and you select the hatchet, you'll actually do physical damage to the wolf. So if you are in the same area for a while, You're going to damage that wolf, and there's a chance that he'll go out and bleed to death somewhere. So there's a food source for you as well. So I found a cooking skillet here, which is great. Cooking skillets are awesome because we can actually cook water in them, and they make more than the cans. So we'll cook some water. There's also recipes you can make exclusively in these pans that are better than just cooking certain items. And if you find raw meat and things, it seems to cook quicker in a pan and a pot. So I think the pan's just slightly faster, which would make sense versus sticking it on a cooking slot like a savage. So we found some sardines. That's okay for food. Got some pork and beans. We found a distress pistol. This is actually really good for us since we don't have another weapon. Distress pistols can be fired at wolves. If you hit them in the head, sometimes you'll kill them. Same thing with bears. Otherwise, they should at least spook them off. So it's a good spooking tool. My number one rule with these, because I am the worst at it, is when you pick one of these up, if you intend to use it ever, reload it now. Because I always forget and then panic. And that reload animation takes a while when a wolf is charging at you. It's a little scary. So we're going to let this boil while we walk and talk. On the table here, some revolver cartridges. I don't know if you remember how I said earlier, sometimes you can find some random ammunition spread about. So we've got some more food, another book, newspaper. We could use this hatchet now and actually break this table down. We'll get some cloth and some wood. We're not going to do that. It's a waste of time right now. Search this container. Maybe there'll be a hat in it. Matches are not bad either. These first aid boxes. Got some painkillers. More antiseptic. And we did find a box of rifle ammunition, which is good. So when we find a rifle, we'll have some bullets for it. Some simple tools. These are good. I'll explain what these are good for later, but they are good for repairing items. Firearm cleaning kit, which is cool, but we don't have a firearm, so we always pick these up, though. I would say anytime you find a whetstone to sharpen your tools or a firearm cleaning kit, do pick them up, even if you can't use them right now. You tend to find them in places you don't need them. So, here's a can of spray paint. I said I would play with it with you guys, so we'll play with it with you guys. But that's kind of it. So, that is what we have up here. We are actually, since we have the time, I'm going to break that table down, even though I said I wasn't going to. We're going to waste an hour and a half, and I'm going to show you why in a second. Because we haven't found a hat or gloves this far, we can actually make a pair. I think we can make it in our inventory. Let me double check. Yeah, so we can make these in our inventory here. So we can make at least a hat with 2 cloth. So that'll help a little bit keeping us warm. So let's do it. Let's finish this water first. Take it. Add another log. Put my water on. I try it, like I said, anytime I have a fire going, I try to make water. Water's heavy, but you always need it, so we'll break this down. Our water's ready to go. Add some more fuel to this. We have some reclaimed wood that we can get rid of. And then we're going to stand here, make more water. Now we're going to get to the point where we're carrying too much because we have a gallon. I try not to carry more than like 1/8 of a gallon. Early game, though, I don't mind as much because I don't always stop to make fires if I don't need to. We have plenty of food. We do have some condition loss, though, so I'm not sure if I'm going to eat the bad food or not. But anyway, that's a discussion for a few minutes. So now we're going to go down into our crafting menu and see how we have improvised head wrap. We need a sewing kit, which I think we have. I think I'm pretty sure we found one. And we need a hat. So then we'll make this hat. If you don't have a sewing kit, you can use a fishing tackle. So if you can find a hook and a line, you can use that as well. So now we're going to go into our clothing. Next to the fire, it feels like 110, which is fantastic, but we're going to wear a hat, make us a little bit warmer. What's really going to hurt us is not having gloves, but I don't know if you saw, the reason we didn't make gloves is we didn't have enough cloth to make gloves. The gloves actually take 4 pieces of cloth because you have 2 hands. So we made with what we could. That should help our warmth a little bit. Sometimes you can get lucky, and in these places there'll be like pillows on the ground or some other stuff that you can smash up. We didn't get so lucky today, but that's okay. The next thing we're gonna do is, since we have all the water that we have, let's since we're wasting some time anyway, let's process some of these acorns. So we found let's go into our bag. In the food section, actually it's probably in here now. So we have acorns. We have 5 acorns. So we have to process these acorns so we can eat them. Late game, if I had a hammer, we would hang on to them, but since it's early game and we need some food, we're going to go into our crafting menu. And I don't think the acorns are in anything but just like the blueprints menu here. Yeah, I think they're just in the open spot. They don't have a separate thing for food. So we're going to prepare some of these acorns. We only have 5, so I think that makes it so we can only prepare a small portion. We can do 5 small portions. So let's prepare them. Okay, we can make them into 1 large portion now. The only reason that really matters is because it's easier to cook, I would say, in the larger portions. Where are we at for our fire? We have an hour left. Let's throw some more reclaimed wood on there. We have it. So now we're in our crafting menu. We're going to go to cook. And now we have the option for these large acorns. Now we have a large portion and a small portion. The large portion, it's going to show us that it's going to give us 80 calories. It does take some water. It's going to take us 10 minutes. Or we can make the large portion for 300 calories and some water, and it's going to be half a pound. It's going to take 10 minutes. So you could cook the small portion in 10 minutes, or you could cook the large portion in 10 minutes. Let's work smarter, not harder. So it's going to take 10 minutes there. While that's actually cooking, we are going to eat the good dog food. Let's actually eat these pork and beans. So the good dog food is at 72%, which means we can actually wait a little bit to eat them. We could eat these sardines. I don't really trust sardines even at 80%. So we do have antibiotics, but if we get food poisoning, it's going to make it so we can't regenerate health. So in this situation, my personal opinion, and you'll have people that say otherwise, is that since we're going to make these acorns, we just eat the acorns. So let's eat the banged up pork and beans for now. It's above 50% conditions, so it's a very slim risk that we will get food poisoning off of it. So let's eat this real quick. Because did we find a can opener? I think we did. We found a can opener, so now we should just be opening it. So we're good there. Our large acorns are done. So we can either take them now and we can eat them, or you could use them, like use a hammer with them. So if you can actually, let's click the other batch while we're waiting, while I'm talking. You could actually go into this crafting menu, and if we had a heavy hammer, take the cooked acorns that we just made and make acorn grounds. And there's recipes that require acorn grounds. You can also take these acorn grounds and make acorn coffee if you really want to. So they're a handy little resource if you can pick them up. Acorns are definitely worth having. I actually think we have enough calories in our belly now that we don't have to eat our large acorn, which is actually fine. It doesn't smell, so we might as well keep it for when we are hungry. But this was a good teaching lesson, I think. And since we do need to restore condition, I think we should be good. This bed's going to give us 10% warmth bonus. This one's warmer than the other bed we were in. And right now with the fire, it feels like 112 in here. If we want it to be extra safe, we could add some more wood to this fire. I don't think we're going to need it, so I'm actually going to pull some torches from it. See if we can get some good torches. That's a good one. That's an okay one. These torches do get a little bit heavy, but you can actually break them down and get sticks if you break them down. So it's, in my opinion, worth taking the torches versus letting the fire burn out. I mean, you have a chance of getting a good torch, so might as well take it. If you don't get a good torch, you can always just throw them on the ground. Or if you're impatient like me, you can just kind of throw them in the corner too. And then you don't have to wait for them to go. You don't have to wait. So anything like we'll drop anything that's under like 30% we don't want to keep. They're just heavy. So we could pick these up and break them down, which we will do. This one I'll put out, but we'll break them down before we go to bed. And we'll go to bed while we have the calories. So right now, we have 620 calories. You can see the feels like temperature is going to drop now because our fire went out. So it is a good idea to wait and see. I think we should be okay. We can sleep for an hour just so that we can see. I think we should be okay. If you're ever not sure, 1 hour typically won't kill you. You can see that we're nice and toasty warm up here even without a fire. So let's go for 8. I think we have the calories for 8. So we'll sleep for 8 hours. Yes, we have just enough calories to sleep for 8. So we'll sleep for 8. That should fill our condition bar. Yep. So we're basically full here. If we sleep another hour, we could probably top it off, but yeah, let's sleep for 2 more. Yeah. So just because I'm going to sleep again, we're going to eat. Let's eat these sardines. They're 80%. Sardines, I would say anything under like 60% I don't trust. Since these are still 80 and we did restore all of our condition, we're in a good enough spot where if we get food poisoning, not the end of the world. We're going to eat those 2. We'll sleep for 3, see if we can sleep for 3. And then we'll head off for the day, just to max out our condition. If you go on the wiki, I'm not going to review all these values individually, but there are certain foods that are okay to eat at low conditions, and you'll never get food poisoning off of them. So like sodas, I've never gotten sick off of jerky or chips, but candy bars I've gotten sick off of. So there's certain foods that are just better to eat at low conditions. If you're not sure if food is safe to eat, you can put it aside until you get level 5 cooking. When you get level 5 cooking, so when you max out your cooking skill, you can eat anything at any time. It doesn't matter. The only thing you can't eat is raw food. The other thing you can do is if you don't, if you're in a situation where you just need to eat so you can go to sleep, you actually, and the reason I say it that way, you could walk around all day and be starving and only lose 1% of your condition per hour. So as long as you eat before you go to sleep, if you just saw that if we ate 600 calories, we can survive on like 400 to 600 calories per day and just eat before we go to sleep because it raises our condition. So early game, I do actually recommend letting yourself starve during the day and eating right before you go to sleep. It's easier to maintain your food that way. There's a lot of good reasons to do it. And as long as you are full when you go to sleep, you'll regen that condition. As long as all of your moodlets are up, so water, food, all that jazz, you should gain condition while you sleep. And if you're in a situation where you can sleep for 8 hours safely, there's no reason not to starve yourself during the day. You can't get your well-fed bonus doing that, but sometimes surviving is, better than thriving. If you could thrive for 2 days if you want, but then if you're going to be out of food for a week, then that's not great either. So we made it to the railroad tracks, guys. They're pretty distinguishable on this map. We have our tracks here. Easy to find in this map. I usually see the electrical line before I see the tracks typically, but we do have a deer carcass here. We could carve a piece of meat off of. I'm not going to right now. I would always recommend when you find a body and there's crows above it, there's typically crow feathers on the ground around it. Pick up those crow feathers. You might not need them right now, but you tend to use a lot of them in the later difficulties of the game or the later parts of the game, especially if you intend on making arrows. There's certain recipes, or not recipes, there's certain crafting recipes you'll need them for. So the lures for fishing, they require them. So even if you don't ever intend to do archery, they're good for that. And to be honest with you, they don't really weigh all that much. There's some ammo. So it's typically worth the weight exchange. I usually collect a bunch of them and just leave them at my bases. And then if I do decide that I want to make stuff from them, I will. So you can see these oak trees are pretty plentiful. So if you know that you're going to be here for a little bit, the acorns get a little bit heavy. They're a good food source. And it doesn't take long to harvest them up. I usually grab them as I see them, unless I'm over encumbered or traveling long distances, then I won't. But typically, I find it's easier to take the acorns if you have a hammer. Hammers are heavy. They're like 4.5 pounds, 4.4 pounds, something like that. Since this game is scaled off of metric, everything's going to be some form of metric round number. That's why they always look like atypical numbers for our backwards U.S. currency or backwards U.S. measurements. I'm one of the weird Americans that like metric better, but because I'm so used to using empirical, I'll use empirical, but I have a little bit of a medical background. I was a vet tech for about 5 years. I was doing ER, general practice, that kind of stuff. Been through a few practices in my tenure there. I'd been a tech for about 8 years total. My last job I was at for about 5.5, almost 6. So most of the stuff we do there is all metric, which is actually a lot easier to use, I would say. But being American, I grew up on empirical, so you'll hear me go back and forth sometimes. Alright, so this is the cabin that we wanted to be at. Now, if we look at our map, we are actually right here at this camp office cabin. So we made it where we wanted to. So basically the path that we just took is we went from this hunting blind, we went to the abandoned lookout. So we went to the abandoned lookout here, we went to this forestry lookout, then we came down here to this rail cart, and we came up this way. Down. So now we are at the camp office here. So that's where we're at. Back to the game. So in here, this is always my favorite spot to stop because it is usually overflowing with resources for us. It's a great place to have a little mini base here. So let's run around and see what we can find. So salt. Salt is a cooking preservative, so it's good for... I'm wondering if... That looks like a visual glitch. There's a whetstone. Where they made a couple different types of whetstones. This looks longer than usual, but there's a whetstone. We are going to take this recycled can. There's a bandage in this crate. These crates are always good to look into because there's usually some stuff hidden in them. If you're not sure if you can see something in there and you can't quite get to it, you can just break the crate and whatever it is will fall through. This is a great place if you're in Mystery Lake to try to get to. There's a cooking skillet here. We're not going to take this one with us because we already have one. I did bring it with us, right? Yeah, okay. Because they get heavy. They're like 2.2 pounds. It doesn't make sense to carry too many of them around. So this is where crawling, getting down low, works in our favor. Because there's a cooking oil vial down here. It's another cooking utensil. Very, very handy to have. Some antiseptic. We have a lot of antiseptics. We're going to drop some of that here. There's a new accelerant on the floor. Some tinder. Some reclaimed wood. Let's look in this first aid kit. More antiseptic. So because we already have so much, antiseptic is 2 pounds each. We're going to leave all but one of these here in this container. I don't like to carry a lot of heavy stuff if I don't have to. The rest of it's fine. But we had almost a pound of antiseptic in our pocket. Search this drawer. This is nice. So Fire Striker is actually better than a match. The what's the word? The effectiveness for that fire, that percentage at the end. This actually gives you a little bit more than matches typically. So we'll take that with us. And it's more fires and so on these this work table specifically, excuse me, there's typically a hook on top. The hooks blend in pretty well. So I always say, you know, just scroll your cursor across it a few times, look and see. There's a hook here. And there's some line. So we can make a fishing line now. We also have some wood matches. All these things are really good for survivability. So this, just coming in this cabin, we haven't warmed up just yet, but that's okay. This cabin also typically has some clothing in it upstairs, so here's hoping we find a hat or something. I'm going to go upstairs now instead of exploring this little kitchen area because I do want to find some clothes. This corpse here is a typical spawn, so he usually has food or clothing or something on him. There's some books, which are good for burning. There's a bedroll. We're going to keep that bedroll over here, just in case we ever lose ours. They do break down over time. The next thing we find here is a cooking pot, which is good. So we'll take the cooking pot. We'll probably leave this can. I'm not going to carry any more cans. I'll carry one with me because the cans get heavy. We already have a lot of weight from our cooking pots. So the cooking pot I will take because there's some cooking recipes that you can make in the pot that you can't make in the skillet and vice versa. So I try to make sure I have one of each in my shelters. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'll carry it around with me, but I like to have them with me at my shelter. And I haven't decided if this is going to be my shelter yet, so I'll keep that for now. Been really stingy on clothing for us. And I know right now that the makeshift cloth thing that we just put on our head is warmer than that baseball cap, so we may have to start a fire here soon. Yeah, because even in here we're cold. Okay, we need a hunting knife to break that pillow down. So we're gonna break these couple cloth items down. We're gonna make some gloves since I didn't find any. Because I'm hoping that'll be enough warmth to improve our warmth bonus. A bit. So we're not totally done looting yet, but there's a can of tomato soup on the ground. It really, really, really benefits you guys to take your time when you loot these areas because they are really good at sticking things in weird places. And I don't care how long you've been playing this game, with the new loot tables, I see people miss things regularly. I'll go back and go to areas that I've been to before and find things that I've missed. So here's another cooking pot. We don't need two. We'll put the other one there. But like this, like, I mean, even just coming over here, I mean, you can see the can. There's a can here. I don't know how many of you saw this pork and beans. Probably a few of you. There's some flour under here. And all the way under this table, very easy to miss. I mean, if you were coming this way and you didn't stop and look, didn't look down, there's a potato sack. And this potato sack seems like it's a persistent spawn. I've seen it every time I've come in this building since the update. And I've seen anywhere between 3 to 7 potatoes come out of that. So it's a big influx of calories we could have potentially missed by not just crouching on the ground. So I know it's annoying. I know you guys are probably rolling your eyes at me, but make sure you crouch on the ground. There's been too many times where I've come back to an area and been like, oh, because you walk in from a different angle, yet you find something that you missed. And there's also been videos where I've had people be like, hey, back at this timestamp, there's this on the ground. I don't know if you saw it. It happens. It happens to the best of us. So, since we didn't find any cloth, unfortunately, except for that stupid hat, which is worse than everything we're wearing, let's make a set of hand wraps. So same thing we did before, we're going to go into our crafting menu, go to improvised hand wraps. We're going to select the sewing kit we already started using. It's going to take 4 of our 8 cloth that we have. we're going to make it. Because I'm hoping it'll make us a little bit warmer. And then we're going to go back to our clothing menu. Put our hand wraps on. And now, I don't know if you can see it at the bottom, now we have an arrow up for warmth. That little bit was enough that we'll start getting warm again. While we're getting warm, I'm going to rip up things like curtains, because we're going to repair some of our clothing now to see if we can make the most out of the little bit of clothing that we have. I'm hungry now, and I'm losing condition because of it, so we are going to address that. Because now I'm to the point now where starving is all fine and good, but we're getting very, very low in condition. We have lots of food, so we're going to eat something just to make sure we stop losing condition. We'll start passively gaining some condition even though we're awake, but it's not as much as it would be if we were sleeping. So that's why typically it's better to wait, but in these situations we're losing it faster than 1% because we were cold. And being cold, you lose a lot of condition a lot faster. I think it's like 3 to 4% per hour. I think water and food, water might be 2%. I know somebody in one of my videos, Zach commented, I wish I remember the exact figures. I can go back and find them for you before the next one. But tired I think is like 2%. And then I think cold is like 3 or 4%. It's significantly more. Might be even more than that. You want to stay warm. Staying warm is one of the biggest things you're going to do in this game. So we cut up some cloth. Pick up the things we didn't pick up earlier. We cut up some cloth. We did the things we wanted to do. I think now we go upstairs and we start a fire. And let's make some food. Let's get aggressive here. We found some... I don't know if I want to get aggressive yet. So we found some flour. So far for cooking, for unique cooking materials for the new recipes, we found broth, which we'll need to make any kind of stew. We found oil, which we'll need for a lot of the recipes. We found some flour, lots of potatoes, some salt. We have enough pre-made food, though, that I think we're going to wait. And just ride out the night on prepared food. Because we need condition, we want to stay away from anything that's yellow. So we don't want to eat this candy bar. It's probably fine. This condensed milk will probably make us sick. I've gotten lucky where it hasn't, but in these situations, luck never works out in my favor, so I try not to play the odds. We have all this other food to try. There's also a bunch of cabins right near us that we can loot later. We're going to drop one of these simple tools because I didn't realize I had two. And now's actually a good time. We have food. We're not super tired. We're getting warm. We're going to read a book because we're just going to waste some time. So the books that we have right now, we have Survive the Outdoors, which is going to improve our fire starting skill. We have Small Arms Handbook, which is going to improve our revolver skill. And then we have a Practical Gunsmithing. Here's my opinion on this. Only read the books. If you are a little bit low on time, read the books that you can that are going to help you the most. So right now, we need fire to survive. We don't have a handgun, and we are nowhere near getting ready to start making bullets again. So I think we read this one, Survive the Outdoors. So there's a couple options here when you do this. I typically read hour by hour, because if you get partially way through an hour and something happens, it gets dark, you get thirsty, you get too tired, it gets cold, any of those things, you'll stop reading a book. In order to read a book, you have to be positive on all of these moodlets. So as we go, I'm getting hungry. I don't know if you can see that. This is risky for me to even risk the other hour. So if we had run out of food during that hour, none of what we had read, for some reason your character doesn't retain. So you can't pick up where you left off in that hour. Crafting you can. So if at any point during crafting you need to stop, you can resume for whatever hour you were working on. But reading you cannot. So now we can read another hour. I typically like to read books when I have a surplus of materials and not a whole lot to do. Like right now would be kind of silly. I could run across the ice, but we were really cold still. So it makes the most sense to just go ahead and use this time to read this book. We have the calories to do it. Some people would argue it's a little bit of a waste of calories, but it's okay. We are raising condition as we read. You can see that condition bar is back up to half now. And now that we've read this book, it's actually going to put it, well, they're always going to be in the fire slot as well. But now this book here, it says research complete. We can't read this specific book again, but we have another one just like it. We could read this one. We'll drop this one just to make it easy, but we can burn that book now and not feel bad about it. So we're going to eat some food. Let's eat this dog food at 70%. Should be more than safe to eat. And that should give us enough calories to keep us through the night. You can only read during the day. Right now we might be able to squeeze in part of an hour, but I don't really feel like it's worth taking the waste of time. So we'll sleep for 8 hours. Should have enough time for that. And actually, guys, this is where we're going to call it. This went a lot longer than I intended, but I have to actually start getting ready for work soon. I'm working from home today, but I like to get my day started a little bit early. So I'm not tired enough to sleep. So this is where I'll leave you guys. It was really nice to hang out with you guys today, and I hope to see you in the next one. Plans for our next video. Pull the map back up. So we are, that's not what I wanted to do. Can I undo that? No. Okay. We'll get this together. We're here. So we're here. Plans for the next video are going to be to come down to these lake cabins. There's a set of lake cabins here. There's a set here. There's a set here. So we're going to search all of these. We're going to follow this up to Alan's Cave. Actually, scratch that. Here's what we're going to do. Because we found that memento hit. Can I just... So we found this memento hit. I think the hint we found is for this cave down here. So what we'll actually do is we're going to come this way, like I said. We'll grab the stuff out of these fishing huts. We're going to climb this rope and go into this thing and see if we can find the cache here. We'll come back down, back out the way we came, explore these cabins, and then we'll probably head up this way, or this way, whichever way we end up going, probably this way, up to the hydro dam for the next episode. So we'll try to find a rifle. There's usually a rifle that spawns in or around the hydro dam. It's a good place to explore, and then we can go from there, guys. I hope these videos are helpful to you guys. If you have any tips or tricks for me, definitely feel free to drop them in the comment section below. These are meant for new players, so if any of this information is helpful, please let me know. If things are not helpful, if there's some things you'd like to know that maybe I've looked over, definitely feel free to drop your suggestions in the comment section below. I am happy to review any content that you guys need. That's what we're here for. We are a beginner-based channel. So, while I'm talking and while we're away, I'm going to break down these couple torches to waste some time. But I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for hanging out, guys. If you don't mind, hit that like button for me. It really helps me out. And then consider subscribing to the channel. If you hit the bell icon, you'll get notified for when I post videos, when I post polls. I frequently like to post polls on when I'm going to go live. Because if only one of you can be there at 7 o'clock in the morning, but maybe 2 of you can be there at the afternoon, I'd prefer to go live in the afternoon, especially my work from home days. So I don't post a ton of content, so it definitely would be worth you guys taking a peek at that. I figured out some ways to balance my audio, so I'm going to go through, and as I do post on this now, go through and edit down some of the sounds. So hopefully some of you that have made comments about my audio is not the best, I should be able to fix that now. So I had it set up before where my tracks were merged. So I set them up so they're split. So if there's sections where you can't hear me or I can't hear me, I can actually boost those sections, the audio, and drag down the audio on other sections as well. So that's something I have more control over now, with a little bit of help of YouTube. So, but that's my spiel. That's the end of the video. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I really appreciate your time, and have a great day.